in these various studies, there are some critical differences in exactly who the affluent or wealthy are. And I just want to kind of highlight those differences to get you thinking about that aspect of things. If you start with Larry Bartels and his really important work on the influence upon senators, his affluent citizens, affluent constituents, are essentially the top third of the income distribution, roughly 33%. If you go to Marty Gillen's and his amazing data set, which it took him a decade to accumulate and analyze, and I sort of did a little free writing at the end, Marty is dealing with the top 20%, with what he likes to call the 90th percentile. That's the middle of the top 20%. That's probably the best evidence we have on the influence question of the affluent. And we suspect that really wealthy people, as opposed to the top 20%, may be exerting a substantial part of the influence, but we can't tell. It may be the 20% are only sort of a proxy or a signal. Then the little CISA Chicago area study that I did with a bunch of people, Larry Bartels, Sandy James, Faye Cook, J.C. Wright. That one gets up a little higher in wealth to 1 or 2%. And those people are actually pretty wealthy by my standards. $7 million, I think, is the median wealth. So if you go back to the 20%, these are people who just earn $70,000 or $80,000 a year in Marty's data. These are not very rich people. They're sort of barely upper middle class. CISA gets to who I think is wealthy. $7 million sounds like a lot to me. But in America today, this is not very much. You look at the Forbes 400 list, being a billionaire, that's 1,000 million as opposed to 7 million. That's a pretty big difference. Being a billionaire is no longer enough to be on the Forbes list. There are what, 69 billionaires now who don't make the list. In the last edition of the magazine, they had a sort of runner-up list of the 69. So all this is in the way of context. Matt's going to tell you something about multi-billionaires, the top of the Forbes 400, starting at the top with Buffett and Gates and so forth, and working down the top 100. J.C. Wright invented a very clever way of web scraping to find out about public statements of these people, and we're also looking at campaign contributions and so forth. And at APSA, we hope to have a report on a lot of general aspects of the top 100. Matt has a neat theory about a subset of these 100, which he will now present.